Hey, how are you?
Good morning. I am doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. And thank everybody who is joining us today for our continued conversation with Christine A. Dixon from Dixon Turnbull. And I want to take some time before we get started to celebrate a milestone in Christine's life. Um, November actually marks her 10-year in business mark. So that's totally worth celebrating. You know how this journey can go and to have stuck it out for 10 years. It's definitely something to worth
Thank
applauding. So
you. Thank you. It's been an interesting 10 years. It's been an interesting 10 years. Lots of ups and downs, as most business people are aware. It's I guess it's something, and there's still growing pains. There's still things that I wish were better and that I'm also working on. So, yeah.
oh no. So I think today's conversation is going to be really exciting because we want to kind of dive into um, misconceptions again, especially as it relates to business owners. A lot of times we believe that as a small business, there are things that we don't need to worry about, we don't need to think about, or that we don't even, maybe we don't feel like we're qualified for something like an attorney. But 10 years in business, 10 years of expertise, 10 years of working with small businesses. We're going to talk through some of those misconceptions. So, Christine, I want to ask you, like, what's something that a lot of people just believe, a perception that people believe that's not true as it relates?
Well, they believe that most clients that come in, or potential clients that come into me, and those that I've met over the course of time, they, number one, believe that most attorneys are unapproachable. They also believe that they have to be at a certain level of business in order to acquire an attorney. So it's not something that is instinct or intuitive the way they would, you know, go after, I have to find an accountant to do my taxes, once they start earning, and once, April, everybody gets in, because, and I guess maybe because with the taxes situation, they're looking for refunds. So they're not, they're ready to spend the money for H&R Block, or they're ready to spend the money for a bookkeeper or an accountant to go over their taxes. And part of it could be just that, because there are penalties attached to it, that they know you don't want the tax man to come at you. They're actually more vigilant, and they don't stop to think the same thing as with an accountant that they think with attorneys. And I think that really is detrimental, because it's really essential that small business owners know that they have to have an attorney on this journey, perhaps even before they get started, because there are penalties that you can face if you do certain things wrong, and or there's situations that you can avoid if you do things that, for example, we have, for most LLCs, you have to have an operating agreement. And I think I've discussed this in previous lives. And the operating agreement itself is that governing document that tells, the bank, it tells the owners, the members in the LLC, that how their business is going to run. And if you don't do that document correctly, that could get you into trouble. And I think in a previous live, I've discussed how it got a client of mine, or past client of mine, into a little bit of a jam because of how things were worded. They actually put together something that, when I saw it, it obviously was cut and paste. It had things that talked about partnership, and it had things that talked about members, and you know, with an LLC has members, it doesn't have partners. And those things, partners can actually bind your company. Members can too, but it's a different, you know, chain of thought or different elements that when you get in front of the court that they're looking at with partnerships versus an LLC and a membership structure. And you know, it's really, and I think one of the things that Dixon Turnbull does is we aim to not only just engage and litigate or represent, you know, people against each other, but we try to educate as well. And the reason for this is you want to make sure that your client understands, even when you're not around, some of the pitfalls that they can get into and how even to approach, you know, business in general. Mm-hmm. I recently had a client who was planning for her retirement. I'm not going to tell you her name, but she was planning for her retirement and she decided to open a business, and she has, as members, she opened a limited liability company, and as members she has herself and her daughter. However, there is something in the document, in your operating agreement, that even if you cut and paste it from the web, that talks about who is responsible for the taxes, the payment of taxes, and all of this. You have to assign the right person. You have to assign who is going to be receiving your notices, your resident agent. You have to have all of these things outlined in your operating agreement, because the bank gets a hold of it. That's what they're guiding. That's what they're following, the guidance from that. If you have monies in your bank account and your operating agreement says anybody and everyone can take money, they actually key that in when they take that operating agreement. They key that into their system. So somebody comes to present a check and it has one signature, they look. Mm-hmm. It only needs one signature. It doesn't need two signatures. It doesn't need the senior member. It doesn't, you know, they literally, and they just cash a check. Mm-hmm. Transfer money, you know. Mm-hmm. They'll take the ID, and you know, the reasons they ask these questions are because they're looking at the screen and they're trying to assess, how do we distribute funds from this bank account? Mm-hmm. And you can get yourself in a jam. And you know, like I said, recently I had, you know, someone who happens to be a friend, and she's been, you know, asking me questions over the years. She came in, she said, I want to set this business up. My daughter is the other member. And, you know, we got to work and we drafted a really strong operating agreement that lists her as the member that's responsible for taxes. It also listed their contribution level, which is also very important when you have one, because like that other client, they had where they put in, the members, put in $20,000 each. But then when they got to the table to talk to me, they said, well, Ms. Dixon, we didn't put in any money. We just wrote that down. Guess what? Now you have $60,000 in the bank. And as in what happened there, one member got shut out of the bank account. Wow. The one went and told the bank, you know, no longer in business with her, and the name and everything was her name. Mm. So those types of things really, you know, shows you that even at the onstart, we're just as important as the accountants. Mm-hmm. Even at the onstart, you need to find an attorney who, one, speaks your language, that you feel comfortable with, so you can tell that attorney everything. And then They will look out for your best interests when they're crafting your specific document. You're not cobbling together a document from the web. They're drafting something specific to you and to your business, because that's also essential. You have to put things out in these governing documents, how the business runs. It's particular to you. Another reason why you need an attorney is, and I can say this because you've been my client, is that you have certain things that you do at the very start. Most people run and they go and they create their website and and they get their disclaimers from here. They get their, website questions and answers, their policies from all over the place. They copy different people. And that at the very start is another reason why you need us, because it's not specific to your business. You have a food business like yourself, or part of your business involves that. You need a website disclaimer that talks about that. You need your policies that talk about that. It speaks about what, allergies, pathogens, the things that you cook with, the things that you're prepping with, that people need to know about. It also tells people up to what level of liability you are going to accept. So, you don't do a proper disclaimer, you don't do a proper indemnification clause. This thing can bind you when you have a claim. And those things need to be set out accurately on your website before you start taking clients. And most people don't understand that until the trouble hits their door. Then they start looking for an attorney, and then they say, oh, that person is not approachable. Oh, that person didn't advise me. Because you didn't spend the time looking for the one that identifies with you, speaks your language, you can confide in, you can trust to set your business afloat in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, excuse me, based off of what you said, it sounds like an attorney is even more important for a small business than it is for a big business, because we can't absorb those hits the same way, grants. Like, no one wants to take them, but at least a business that has the resources, they can figure it out. But it could literally tank
your business. Having a claim, having not protected yourself, having employees and not having contractors and not having those proper documents in place, anything can happen. And each business on their own needs that. Years ago, I had another client who runs conferences, and I had to draft for her speaker agreements, and I have to draft for her clauses that she puts out to the speakers, to the attendees, because one of the things that happens a lot at conferences is people slip and fall. People take samples of things, eat it, and then and this tanks your whole business if you do not have that indemnification, you do not have the right insurance. That one misstep could just cost you your whole business. And people have to understand that a very good attorney, when we have those strategy calls and we talk to you and we hear what's going on in your business, they will then start to, okay, so you need this, you need that, we can start with this, we can come back to this in another month, but they set you up for the success of your business.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. And do you have an example of a recent small business solution, like small business testimonial or customer that really found working with you super beneficial?
Like that last person that I was talking to you about. She came, she wanted to set her business up. And it wasn't until everything was complete almost that she said, I'm going to need money now to go into my business so that I can buy supplies. And she felt so grateful for actually having set up everything. And one of the things she said, which, you know, I think I've shared, and it's also on my website, is that she now felt in her mind certified to go into the bank with her corporate records all in place and present them and get her a loan, a line of credit, whatever instrument that she needed to do. She now had what it takes. Even just going to the SBA for a loan, you have to have these documents properly drafted, and it gives you that confidence. It gives you that confidence. And when you walk into a bank and you say, oh, I need this line of credit, and then they say to you, what have you done? And you take out that corporate book. Do you know that actual bankers in bank, all of them, the business bankers, they have a certain threshold limit that they can loan to customers without having to go all the way up their chain. And when they see that you are prepared, that really helps the whole process. That really helps the whole process, because in their mind, this is a business person. This is a serious businesswoman who has walked in. She has her strategy in place. She has a business plan that she can explain and put out to them. And they say, okay, we can get behind this business. Because what the note is the bank standing as your security, but it also is them extending, they're also now in it with you. So they're like now a member or partner, because they've now put in their money in, because they now see, I can take the risk on this person. I can, and that's, you cannot beat that feeling. You cannot beat that feeling. And a lot of startup companies, are bootstrapping it, and they have to. When I started up, I had to. And now there are actual things out there, there are incubators that will, once you get in, they will provide certain funding for you. They will, oh, hello, Miss Deborah, one of my other clients. They will provide funding. They will provide funding for an accountant. They will provide funding for an attorney and the like. But they have to take a bet and a gamble on you. So you have to go in prepared for that. Miss Deborah had her company start up with me as well, and we spent practically a whole day where I did their setup live with them on a Zoom. And where that business goes, that's up to them, but they have all their ducks in a row, that if they need a loan instrument, or they find a partner or another member to bring in, like a venture capital company, all their stuff is done. That takes, what you don't want to do is start to scramble around, because that also shows you're in the bank and he's telling you did an operating agreement. Oh, I didn't have one. What is he seeing?
Yeah, they don't trust it. They don't trust you with their money at that point.
Right. They're
Bankers
seeing somebody that's
mitigating.
scrambling.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
They're seeing somebody that's scrambling.
Yeah.
They're not seeing somebody that is trustworthy. Because it's just like going to the pharmacist these days. When you get a high dose medication, even though your doctor gave you the prescription, the pharmacist has the right to deny it. And when they start asking you those questions, they're watching your demeanor, they're watching what you're saying in order to fill that prescription. There is a method to the madness. That, you might be standing there going, why is she asking me all these questions? Why is he asking me all these questions? It's because they're trying to determine, am I going to fill this script for oxycodone? even though, because they are on the hook, just like the doctor, if you start to misuse it. It it's the same premise everywhere you go. It's the same premise, you know. So you really have to make that investment. I tell my clients in certain things right away. Your insurance, being insured, that's another thing. You know, you have liability insurance, you have general policies. You have to insure yourself for anything that could happen, a catastrophe, you know, in your business. So having an attorney, I don't see sometimes when people come to me and they're struggling with it. You know, you don't want to toot your own horn or you don't want to force someone, but I think people should be looking at it the same way they look at that tax professional.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's a great place to end when we're talking about, you know, small businesses. You can't really afford, I think that's the theme. You can't really afford not to engage an attorney. Like you just said, insurance is something big. Having an attorney with you at the onset of your business is a level of insurance for your business to make sure that you're best set up for success in all aspects of the journey. Before we leave, do you have something that you want to conclude with? Anything that you want to say?
Well, actually, what I do want to just say is proactive legal guidance is the vehicle that takes you from where you're at to where you want to be. And you do not, and that's one of, or I keep saying this because it's one, if you go to my website, it's been on my website since 2018. You do not have to be big to get big legal support. So, and the reason behind that is we really have to protect your investment, and your investment at the onstart is your ideas, your strategy on development. Earlier this week, I talked about Orplace and how they had, obviously, I've not checked with them, but they had an obvious strategy that was not clear to us at the beginning, but do know they had a strategy. And a good attorney helps you to protect that right away. You know, some protections you may have to wait. Like I generally, you know, for trademarks, they want to see that you started using the mark. But copyright and patents, you have to go at that from the beginning. And you have to, you know, really spend the time to search out, as I say, the right attorney so that you know you are ready to go. And, you know, it's really an investment that you have. And look at it the same way you're going to buy a computer. It's the same investment that you need to put in, you know, to your business in order for it to succeed.
Cool. All right. So you can catch Christine at Turnbull.
So yes, Christine A. Dixon on Instagram and, you know, also even on Twitter, but DixonTurnbull.com. You can reach out to me by scheduling a discovery call on DixonTurnbull.com. We just announced earlier this week, at least I announced earlier this week, the anniversary specials that we're running, and they're going to be up on the site. The cost begins at $3.99 and up. So, you know, and if you act now within the next couple of days, and I think we've given it 2 weeks, you will get, you know, for the $3.99 package, you'll get $50 off. So it makes, you know, you can protect your business for less than $1 a day.
Yeah.
And we, you know, and you'll see on the site the different things that you will be getting, one-on-one strategy, you know, call with me. I will review the documents that you do have and recommend what you need to have, and also recommend a strategy for your development of your business. And, you know, I really am looking forward to meeting, you know, people. I love hearing about, you know, different businesses, and I love talking to entrepreneurs because, you know, it really is a marvel to see God's gifting on people when they, you know, come up with these really interesting, intriguing ideas and they put it into action and society benefits. And that's one of my passions with my business. And, you know, it's really the love of my clients, you know, when I, just like you will like me, I fall in love with their business. And then I give them the most. You know, because, you know, I've been there, I've been where everyone is on this journey. So that's, you know, I could make a whole other live on that and the pitfalls that I fell into. But, you know, we only have a few minutes.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, Christine, for joining us for this live. Congratulations again for 10 years in business. And guys, take advantage of the support that Christine has, the support, the knowledge. I mean, I do. Not as much as I should, but I will definitely be doing.
We've already booked your day, your VIP day in November. So
this process has funny going through this process has reminded me how much I need to really access the support that I have. So that's what I'm doing. So thank you for that. And everybody else, until next time. I think we're back on Friday, right?
We're back on Friday.
All righty, we'll see
for the last in the series.
Yeah. Alrighty, have a great day.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for joining us today on this live. Share, like, and share with a business owner that you know, a family member that you know is a small business owner. You know, I think it's really good for us to stay encouraging each other and, you know, setting each other up for success, basically.
Great point. Alrighty, be well.
Be well.